Everybody on this earth has this same question, the most important question asked in our lifetime. What games are woke? Lucky for us, we don't have to wonder any longer because some anonymous hero went out there and reviewed over 1,600 games, listing whether or not that game is woke and the reasons why. It's really incredible stuff, and it's called the Woke Content Detector. See, ever since I found out about this thing, I've been obsessed. The idea of someone taking significant time out of their day to categorize video games based on wokeness is really something special. Now, some people will tell you woke games are bad, right? But after looking at this list, I don't know about all that. I'm talking banger after banger being given the not recommended label because of some interesting reasons we'll get into. But it got me thinking, what's the best woke game? The GOAT of woke. So I grabbed 32 games off the Woke Content Detector list, and we're gonna go head-to-head March Madness style and figure out which ones are the best. I just picked 32 random ones that I played because I didn't want to be here for 8 hours with every game on the list. Now, let's dive into the world of video game wokeness. Starting off with a banger matchup of Borderlands 2 versus Bloons Tower Defense 6. Now, you may be saying, I don't really remember these games being woke. Strap in, buddy. It's gonna get weird. So Borderlands was given a big not recommended because it contains overtly pro LGBTQ+ and DEI messaging. It's got multiple LGBT characters and the character Axton is bisexual. Bloons, on the other hand, has a pride flag item you can obtain, and the hero Sai uses they them pronouns. And you thought your kids were safe playing some Bloons. Listen, as much as I enjoy that game, Borderlands 2 wins this matchup. It's the GOAT looter shooter and it still holds up today as an all-time great. You got some peak gaming comedy, great pop culture references, and the gameplay is unmatched. Next matchup is Garry's Mod and Counter-Strike 2. To all my Valve fanboys out there, think again. Garry's Mod was given the woke label because it contains anti-free speech messaging, and they introduced a prohibition on Nazism in 2023. You heard me correctly, not allowing Nazism in your game, that's woke. Remember what I said, it's gonna get weird, man. As for Counter-Strike 2, too many women, man. The game features multiple female agent skins, yuck, including a female Navy SEAL and female SWAT officer. Also, one of the female skins is more muscular than most of the male operators. I mean, I could have told you if a man sees a woman who's stronger than him, they're gonna get pissed for sure. Now, we'll ignore the fact that female SWAT officers are a thing and that women are allowed to be Navy SEALs, and we're just gonna move on from that. I'm gonna keep it a bean. Counter-Strike just doesn't do it for me. I respect it for what it did for PC and competitive gaming, but the game is just kind of whatever to me. Garry's Mod, however, it's an all-time classic, and it changed the way that we look at custom games forever. Games like Fortnite owe a lot to the groundwork that Garry's Mod laid out, so I'm picking Gmod here with a clear body. Next up, the matchup of the century, Rainbow Six Siege and fucking Among Us. Now, obviously, Siege is going to be on this list, right? They've got women, black characters, gay characters. It's the holy trinity of wokeness over there. I do love the way they worded it, though. This game is not recommended for one of the reasons being featuring many diverse characters. Young man just straight up let you know if it ain't straight white males, he's pissed. Now, as far as Among Us goes, you might be scratching your head a little bit. Like, what could possibly be woke about Among Us? Well, they got pride flag nameplates you can buy, so yeah, get it out of here. Now listen, I enjoyed Among Us for 4 months just like everyone else, but we gotta be real with ourselves. R6 wins this. Generational game. It's been going strong for over a decade now. Yeah, it may not be what people originally wanted, but it's solidified itself as one of the premier hero shooters and competitive games of this generation. Now we have Destiny 2 versus Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, and yeah, we're defending Nazis again. As for Destiny, well, they got trans characters. Yeah, Oryx, the king of the hive, he was born a girl in the lore. Apparently, even if you're an alien from a different galaxy, transitioning still makes you a soft libtard soy boy. On the Wolfenstein side, it's a little more complicated. The main character's dad was abusive and racist, and that's woke apparently. Main character's girlfriend killed some Nazis, that's also apparently woke. And the character Grace is an anti-white feminist. I feel like we didn't play the same game here. I'm sorry to those that I might offend with this, but Destiny is not good, to me at least. I gave it a go, I put a couple hundred hours in, and just at no point did I feel like, hey, this game is actually really good. Wolfenstein, on the other hand, absolute gas pack. I love any of those alternate timeline types of settings, and that Roswell level is one of the most memorable designs in all of gaming for me. New Colossus beats the dog shit out of Destiny 2 here. Next matchup, we got Dave the Diver versus Paladins. Now, Dave the Diver is considered woke because he's fat. That's right, to all my fat homies out there, your mere existence on this planet is woke. Don't ask me how. It's just the way it goes. Then you've got a black sushi chef, which everyone out there knows only Asians are allowed to make sushi, man. Basically, if Dave was shredded with a 12-pack and the sushi chef was actually a basketball player / rapper, this game would be fine in their eyes. Now, as for paladins, you've got pride flags for your avatar, and Fernando and Sati are gay. I mean, I could have told you that without even talking to a dev. You've seen the way that Fernando moves? That's a sussy boy. Now, I've got extensive time with Paladins. I played it as my main game for years. The game's got some decent ideas, more interesting ideas than Overwatch for sure, but it's also got a ton of shortcomings. It feels super janky, it looks horrible, and Hi-Rez can't properly manage a game to save their life. I'm clearly taking Dave the Diver here because it's really good. And now it's Team Fortress 2 versus Ghost of Tsushima. So y'all were complaining about Ghost of Yotei went woke because they have a female character. Little did you know the Ghost series been woke all along. We've got gay characters and Jin Sakai responding with modern day sentiments, whatever the fuck that means. Also, too many women in authority positions. Yuck. Secretaries only, please. Now, the reason Team Fortress 2 is on here is, well, remember how Gary's mod was on here for being anti-Nazi? Kind of weird, right? This makes that look like the most normal thing you've ever seen. And I quote, Major League Mayhem Ubercharged Charity Tournament, a community event raising money for the Trevor Project, was featured in an official game announcement. Now you may be saying, what's the Trevor Project? Well, the Trevor Project is a nonprofit that primarily focuses on suicide prevention for young LGBT people. That's correct. Raising money for a charity whose goal it is to help people not end their life. That's woke. No other comments necessary. This is the toughest matchup for me because both of these games I enjoy a lot for very different reasons. Ghost of Tsushima is very solid and it's the standard for open world samurais forever, but ultimately, I like TF2 more, man. It stood the test of time as just being a really fun and influential game. TF2 moves on here. And from there, we go head to head with maybe the most woke franchise of all time. Dragon Age Inquisition and Dragon Age The Veilguard. In Inquisition, we got gay characters, trans characters, gay romance options. It's LGBT the game, you know? In Veilguard, we got pronouns. We got trans surgery scars. We got the option for your character to have vitiligo. Someone really typed that out. And we got out of place diversity. Not sure how diversity can be out of place in a fantasy world that's not based in our reality, but nonetheless, woke AF. Now, I've played every Dragon Age game, and I typically buy them on release. I'm a big fan of the series, but I gotta be honest with you and myself, Veilguard didn't do it for me. I got about 5 hours in and I said, I'm gonna just go play something else. I didn't think it was bad, but I just didn't think it was great either. The combat was solid though. I think it was clearly the best of this series. I just wasn't really dragged in like I was with the previous titles. And I'm sure I'm gonna end up revisiting it at some point in my life, but Inquisition does win here pretty handedly. And now we got a heavy first matchup. BioShock Infinite versus Assassin's Creed 2. Bangers. BioShock Infinite got hit with the woke hammer because heavy social commentary on racism. I don't know, man. These dudes just be outing themselves for real. As for Assassin's Creed 2, one of the opening screens is a diversity disclaimer that says this game was made by a multicultural team of various religious faiths and beliefs. I guess you're not allowed to tell people you got Muslims on your dev team. I mean, understood, I guess. Listen, I respect the Assassin's Creed series, I really do. It ain't fucking with BioShock. I know BioShock fans are torn on Infinite. Some think it was a huge step down, and for others, it's their favorite. I fall into that group. This game's setting and lore is a masterclass. BioShock Infinite clears Assassin's Creed 2 here. We got ourselves a Star Wars matchup with Battlefront 2 and Jedi Fallen Order. See, most people would say Battlefront 2 is not recommended because of its predatory monetization. Not these guys, though. They don't recommend it because female soldiers. Back to the kitchen, sweetheart. Only men fight in this galaxy far, far away. In Jedi Fallen Order, it's just the usual LGBT characters, pretty generic and boring. I think I'm one of like 7 people out there who actually really likes Battlefront 2. I grew up on the OG Battlefront games. They're some of my all-time favorites, and Battlefront 2 does just feel like a modernized version of that in a lot of ways. I get all the loot box and monetization stuff, but I don't know. The game's a fun, casual experience to me. But Fallen Order, it is the better game. It's kind of close, I guess, but Fallen Order is a pretty unique Star Wars experience that I do respect a lot. And now, my heart hurts because one of these games has to go in the first round. We got the Talos Principle versus Dishonored 2. The Talos Principle got hit with the woke label because it's overtly pro-transhumanism and some subtle pro-climate action messaging. I feel like we're just randomly adding things that don't even make sense under the woke umbrella, but I'm still for the cause, you know, fuck it. For those that don't know, transhumanism is the idea that humans can be improved with technology. Basically, if you know anything about Elon Musk and the whole Neuralink thing, it's pretty much that. As for Dishonored 2, gay characters, trans characters. Like, bro, Mass Effect has 1 billion gay characters, and that game doesn't get the woke label, but Dishonored does. I just feel like if we want people to take us more serious here, we gotta be more consistent. Now, the Talos Principle is a masterpiece, truly. I think it's the best puzzle game ever made. It's a true thinking man's game, from the puzzle layouts all the way down to the storyline. It's an all-timer, but Dishonored 2 is one of them ones. I'm a super fan of Arcane. I think they have such a unique tone and visual style to all their stuff, and Dishonored 2 probably is their magnum opus. You just feel like a kid at a candy store coming up with different ways to traverse these levels. I've owned like 6 different copies of this game because every console or system I go to, I need to have my Dishonored. Dishonored 2 wins here. Talos Principle, you will be missed. Then we got Disco Elysium versus Ultra Kill, and I ain't gonna lie, this side of the bracket is fucking stacked, man. Heavy hitters everywhere. If you're in tune with the culture, you know both of these games go. Disco Elysium isn't recommended because gay characters and heavy social commentary on communism. Whether pro or anti is unclear, and yeah, that's woke. If you speak on communism, no matter if you're for it or against it, you're a liberal cuck. That's a true story. Ultra Kill is for the wokies because the word gay is spelled out by 3 mannequins, true, and level 5S contains a reference to the Blahaj plushie, a pro-trans symbol. I feel like I'm maybe just not in tune with the culture, but I don't even know what that is, but I'm gonna take their word for it. Both of these games fuck something serious. Gun to my head, I'm taking Disco Elysium. The game just means more to me, but I would be sad to lose either of these games for real. Ultra Kill fills that niche of movement shooter enjoyment for me, but Disco Elysium does move on. Then we got Deathloop versus Bully. Deathloop has out-of-place diversity for a 1960s inspired setting. Apparently black people and women just straight up didn't exist 60 years ago. Bully's kind of funny because they said the player character can kiss other boys. They could have just said gay romance options like they did every other time, but they went all in, and I really respect that. This is that Arcane bias, but Deathloop wins here. I think the game's a lot better than people give it credit for. Some really cool ideas with the whole living out the same day over and over again. You get some extraction shooter elements, being hunted nonstop. It's such a good game, man. Deathloop is moving on. Then there's Hitman World of Assassination versus Middle-earth Shadow of War. Hitman's not recommended because one of the opening screens is a diversity disclaimer. These dudes really hate knowing that games are made by different people. Multiple minor LGBT NPCs. I've got over 100 hours in the game and I didn't even know that, so thanks for telling me so now I can uninstall forever. As for Shadow of War, out of place diversity. Too many orcs, you know? Not enough humans in this make-believe fantasy world. Also, they race and gender swap the Nazgul, apparently. In the non-canonical game where the Nazguls are all different from the original, except for 2, gender swap, they say. I feel that for sure. Now, I can lie to you and say that this one is close out of respect for Shadow of War, or I can be honest and tell you Hitman World of Assassination wins by a landslide. This is the best Hitman experience ever. I love stealth games, and this is one of my favorites. And the freelance game mode just makes this game endlessly replayable. It's so good. If I didn't have a life, I would never turn this game off. Hitman moves on. Next up, Apex Legends and Days Gone. Apex is a no-brainer for this list, right? Catalyst, trans. Bloodhound, non-binary. Seer is pansexual and black. Double whammy, you know? Gibraltar's gay. Loba's bi. It's like a pride parade in San Francisco every time you drop into the map. Days Gone is an interesting one. Features homosexual romance. Ricky and Addie are an interracial lesbian couple. They had to make sure to add that interracial part in there. No race mixing around here. You don't want your kid ending up being the next Patrick Mahomes or something. I like both of these games, and my respective peak grind of both of these, I love them. Apex is my favorite BR of all time, and those first couple of seasons were just top tier. And Days Gone is criminally underrated, and I would love to see a second one. I'm gonna take Apex here, but I really couldn't care either way. Both of these are fine. Then we got For Honor and We Happy Few, and this is like an underdog matchup. For Honor is woke as fuck because they use body type 1 and 2 for customization, and because they have women fighting men. And we all know that's just not real. Women can barely fight women, right? We Happy Few just got gay people. It is what it is. At its height, For Honor was something special. It was such a unique game at the time. It's not something that I could play all day, every day, but I always had a good time when I did. Now, We Happy Few, on the other hand, oh baby. This is what I like to call a flawed masterpiece. It's flawed because the gameplay is quite dookie. The open world's pretty bland outside of the main locations. The combat is buns, but the vibe, the lore, the setting, they make up for all of that. I revisit this game like once a year just so I don't forget how incredible this game could have been. I'm not joking. This game was a few development choices away from being one of the greatest games ever. Instead, it sits in this weird space as a cult classic where a lot of people don't like it. We Happy Few wins here for me though. And for our last matchup of the first round, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and Cyberpunk 2077. You know we had to go out with a heater, right? The only reason Tiny Tina's Wonderland is on here is because 1, there's pronoun selection, and 2, the body types instead of being labeled male and female are called this one and that one, which is just such a hilarious Borderlands thing to do. As for Cyberpunk, we got more of that pro-transhumanism stuff. There's a trans character, body types instead of biological sex, and body modification is encouraged. Blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna be honest. If Cyberpunk is woke, then count me in on the woke train. I'm gonna get some coexist stickers for my car and exclusively listen to Chapel Roan. I'm in. Cyberpunk is a generational game. There's no game that's better for getting lost in. I actually refuse to let myself dive deep into this because I know it would take over my life and I'll never see my friends or family again. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is pretty underrated. I actually really enjoy it, but it don't got shit on Cyberpunk, man. 2077's moving on. And now we go to round 2, and this is gonna be a little more rapid fire. We now know why these games are woke, we accept their wokeness, and we run through to crown our king, so let's do it. Borderlands 2 and Gary's mod. I'm taking Borderlands. Shout out to Gmod's Impact. Borderlands 2 is top 10 for me. Rainbow Six Siege and Wolfenstein New Colossus, maybe a hot take, but I'm going New Colossus. It's my favorite of the trilogy. Dave the Diver and
Team Fortress 2.
Even hotter take. It's fucking Dave, man. I'm just telling you what I like more. I like my man Dave. It's really that good. Dragon Age Inquisition or BioShock Infinite. BioShock's walking them down. Love me some Dragon Age though. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order or Dishonored 2. There was never any doubt. It's Dishonored. Disco Elysium and Deathloop. Arcane meat riding can only go so far. Disco Elysium is really like that. It wins. Hitman World of Assassination versus
Apex Legends.
Hitman. Next, We Happy Few versus Cyberpunk. I really want to try to be weird and make a case for how I like We Happy Few more, but I can't. Cyberpunk wins. Round 3, and this is where the real goats start to show out. Borderlands 2 versus New Colossus. Really not close. It's Borderlands. Dave the Diver versus BioShock Infinite. We had a good run, Dave. You did your thing. BioShock smoking shit. Dishonored versus Disco Elysium. It's a conversation. It's at least a conversation, right? A little bit of thought had to be put in. I'm not mad at someone taking Disco Elysium here, but Dishonored does take that for me. Last of the round, Hitman World of Assassination and Cyberpunk 2077. I'm gonna keep it funky. You catch me on the right day, under the right lights, I really might say Hitman, but today, is not that day. Cyberpunk keeps it pushing. And now we got our final 4, the woke heavyweights. Some true titans of this soft liberal shit. BioShock Infinite versus Borderlands 2 on one side, and Dishonored 2 versus Cyberpunk on the other. All 4 of these are like probably top 10 games for me, top 15 for sure. I'm basically an honorary LGBT member with this gaming taste, but let's get to it. Let's dissect the woke Mount Rushmore. Now for Borderlands 2 versus BioShock Infinite, these games are both FPS games doing very different things. Borderlands is a very shut your brain off, grindy, have some mindless fun kind of game. It's witty, the art style is god tier, and its loot system rivals some of the best loot-based games even today. And I think pound for pound, Borderlands 2 has the best DLC content of all time. It's crazy because all 4 of these finalists actually have elite level DLC to me. BioShock Infinite is definitely no slouch with the DLC. Burial at Sea is deadass best case scenario for ending off that trilogy. No spoilers for anyone who might not have played a game that's been out for 30 years now, but yeah, BioShock Infinite wraps up the games in a great way. And this is just elite level world building, a diesel punk city built in the sky, created by some questionable folks. It's hard not to be tough on modern story games when shit like this is the bar. I'm taking BioShock Infinite to move on to the finals. And now it's time to piss some people off. If you can't already tell by this Final Four, I'm a vibes guy. I love unique aesthetics and cool settings. If you give me a boring, Eurocentric, medieval castles and knights game, yeah, your story and gameplay can be good, but it's not going to draw me in like something else might with a more standout setting. Now, both of these games, Dishonored 2 and Cyberpunk, tackle that flawlessly. Dishonored has become the poster boy for steampunk games that really nobody has managed to capture the essence of places like Dunwall since then. And Cyberpunk, it's been mimicked 1,000 times. There's loads of games that market themselves as having a cyberpunk aesthetic because it's a style that just bangs. Massive, futuristic, dystopian cities where people are just as much machine as they are human. These places are cool as hell. But I gotta stay true to my soul here. Dishonored wins. I understand Cyberpunk has so much to do. It gives you tons of freedom to explore, and it has a lot of intricate mechanics to its gameplay with different skills and modifications, but this is the deal. Dishonored 2 is just a more satisfying game to me. The verticality of these levels, feeling like a true assassin blinking around on the rooftops, sneaking around on vents. The tools at your disposal allow you to play this game in a way that no other game has done for me. You can get so creative with how you combo things together that it really feels like an accident. Like there's no way someone's head thought to design these levels with these exact things in these exact locations so perfectly to allow for this level of synergy. It's really insane. Dishonored moves on to the finals, and we're left with the woke titans, BioShock Infinite and Dishonored 2. One game doesn't like racism, the other game has a trans woman, and these are enough for the creators of the woke content detector to say they do not recommend these games. Don't play them. And that's just hilarious to me, because if you were to remove all 32 of these games out of my life forever, I'd probably not even be playing games as a hobby. I would probably be building model boats or something. A lot of these games define my interest in gaming as a whole. So woke or not woke, I don't give a fuck. I like good games. If you want to ignore greatness because of some weird ideology, it sounds miserable as hell to me, but it's not my life to live. That being said, I'll get straight to the point. BioShock Infinite is my winner. Not much needs to be said, it's my favorite. On this list at least, but it doesn't stop here. Cause I'm on a mission. I want to find the greatest woke game that has ever existed. And with the help of the woke content detector as my Pokédex, I aim to catch them all. This was my Kanto playthrough. We still need to conquer Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh in search of the most legendary, rare, woke bangers. Until next time, beloved, gimme kiss.